Yeah, cold. No.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure and privilege to be here every Saturday morning with Diana and Gary. As I was just mentioning, our hearts and condolences to Diana and the loss of her mom last week, so she's not here today with us. Looking after her family is where she needs to be. And Gary is flying high out of the skies somewhere on his international parachuting conference or something like that. And he's very busy this weekend as well. So we're all here with Jan and Hank and celebrating their recent success in achieving the level of presidential in Manotick in our new compensation plan. So I know this is their first time and our first time in being able to celebrate their success. I'll just give you a little bit about their background. So after a hard week in their construction business and one of their major clients going into liquidation, causing loss of all of their cash flow and raw materials, and blood pressure going through the roof, trying to find 60 grand for payroll affecting more than 30 employees. They knew they needed to calm down quickly, so they went back to the office thinking there must be something better out there. Later that day on Facebook, Hank came across a small ad, work from home, own hours, and all around your family. Leaving the details in the contact box, after watching a short video, the phone rang and says, "Hi, I'm James Hannon." And then James invited him to watch a video. And to Hank, the business model just made perfect sense. No employees, no stock to hold, no deliveries, and a price tag that equaled a normal night out for dinner. When James called back, he said, "Sign me up, I'll go into business with you." And some of you might identify with this. A few days passed and a courier delivered a package with the information pack and some Mana Bears in there. He pulled them out down the mall and then put it away for another year, and a box was just a box in the office. James, however, would keep in touch and regularly call and say, "Are you ready? It's time for you to do anything with us." On one of those Skype calls, Jan, Hank's wife, saw James on the screen and asked, "Who's that man you're talking to?" Because it didn't sound like one of my regular conversations. We decided to work hard for 90 days. And in 40 days, we reached the second income level, and we were already awarded a trip for two to the Gold Coast, staying in 5-star luxury, including flights. We had found the right business at the right time with unequal product quality, a business system that can change lives in a matter of months. The hard thing was to leave our history behind so we could step into the future of our dreams. And that's such an important statement to finish on that. Thank you for saying that, because we do have to become someone new to achieve some of these dreams in our Manotick goals, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So we did talk briefly about a little bit of the topics or the flow that we'd like to prioritize today, but I think it's really, really important just to hear both of your story from your own words and your own heart. Tell us how that happened.
To join the business, it's sort of a hard thing because my mind really wasn't focused at that time. My thoughts were, I need to do something different because we were in such a vulnerable position then, not just to try and find immediately 60 grand for payroll, but the longevity of that, and also, how we flow further into the future and then continue to operate as a company. Because that's a big deal, have people's lives on hold like that, not being able to pay. And as you know, many employees work week to week and live week to week, paycheck to paycheck. And so, I felt really, really bad for our employees at that time. It was very difficult. Not only that, we had the union on our back as well, because we're a commercial company. And so we were getting grief from everywhere. So in answer to your question, my thoughts were, there's got to be a better way to do this. There's got to be something that can protect our own livelihood as well as, sort of balance out what we're doing during the day. Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So when the reason I got on Facebook was because, my mind was all over the place, and I was frustrated, I was angry, I was scared, nervous about the future, and I just needed to calm down because I was a heart attack case, really. So I came back to the office and I thought, I'm going to close myself off. I'm going to play some games. My blood pressure's going, and I'm going to think about how we can get over this. And it was during that time when I was on Facebook playing games that that little ad popped up. And that little ad, if you think about the small strands that hold our business together and how we actually get involved, that small ad was just the start of, the biggest step of our lives. Mm. An incredible step that somebody cared enough even just not to put the ad, but to put the ad on, but not only that, to actually give us a call. Because when you look at the statistics, a lot of people don't follow up. And that's where our business breaks down. Mm. So I'm so thankful for James and, for actually spending the time to talk to me. I'd never met the guy, I'd never heard about the guy, and the only reason we clicked that ad, or I clicked that ad, was because a friend of mine actually liked it. There was a like there. Mm. And this must be interesting because I respect that person. And that's how the small strands held it together. Mm. Yeah, so when James called, he didn't talk about business, he just said, "What can I do for you, mate?" That was it. And at that point, I was ready to pour my heart out because I really had a clear direction of how I was going to fix the problem that we had. That discussion changed our life. Wow. That one discussion changed our life. And the little video was actually a preamble to the M5M program. It showed a little short video with Sam Kessler on there talking about a life purpose. And at that point, I didn't have a life of purpose. I had a life of greed, and I had a life of dictatorship to my employees. It's weird how that changes. It's weird how our whole life changes. So talking about our business itself, I'm ever so thankful to James. We've become very, very close friends. But not only that, because James is actually my enroller, but Naomi's my sponsor, if you look at the sheet. And so, how can you sort of be in a position surrounded by people like that? And it's not just them too, but how can you be surrounded with people like that and not catch the vision, not catch the heart? Mm. And I always like to say this, we are only here because of the system that we have in place and the beautiful people that we have in our downline, because we wouldn't be here without them. This is all their work. We are just a result of or a byproduct of the system that we have. And we've popped out at the top. We still have big dreams and we still have a big heart to go further, because basically we're still breathing. All right, so for people who have been down there, a long time in the trenches, working hard, and one day that will change as long as you keep believing.
Excellent. And Jan, did you want to add to that, or?
Well, I wasn't actually with Hank to start with. I didn't actually know anything about it. I found a box in the cupboard and I looked in it and I thought, what is this? I don't know anything about this. So when he came home from work, I said, what's this box you've got? And he fessed up.
Please explain.
Yes, I wasn't happy. I thought, how can you get involved with something else when you've got so much other things on your plate? So I wasn't happy at all. But he sort of talked me around and I said, well, we'll give it 90 days and we'll see what happens. You promise if nothing happens in 90 days, we're out of here. So we did. And Naomi and James, I can't hold them high enough. Yeah. They're the most amazing people and we wouldn't be here without them. Yeah. And our team below us. Yeah. They're just amazing people. and we thoroughly enjoy being in the Manatech family.
Yeah. So Sharon, just adding to what Jan said there, we have a rule in our house where we do everything by agreement, and on that day we did nothing by agreement. I just stepped out when I saw the plan, because our business is a numbers business. You know, we have to calculate every day how many bricks we lay. You know, we know that we need to lay 70,000 bricks a week just to cover payroll and outgoings, overheads. And so, you know, thinking about how all that sort of transpired, you know, that's why the business made sense to us, to me.
Mm.
But I just went out on a limb and joined, and at that time it was $750 odd. And so, you know, not that it's about the money, but it was about not being in agreement. And so when Jan found this box, and this is a year later in the bottom of the cupboard, so we started 2012. It sat in the cupboard for a year, so it's 2013. And this is our sort of journey to where we're at now. We decided at that point, look, we'll just give it 90 days, but we'll give it 90 days of focused attention, right? Every opportunity I get, I will show the plan. And so, and I'll tell you one of the instances, and this sort of feeds into one of the other questions that you had for me later, but imagine this. I've just come out of site. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning. And we have a rule that if the temperature gets over 35 degrees, we shut that site down. And so I'm heading home. The boys have already left, you know, an hour before because of the heat. And I'm parked at the lights just around the corner from the job site, and the traffic control guy is there, standing there holding his little stick in full PPE, which means boots, a hat, a hard hat, a shade hat, and full high-vis gear. Now, if you know anything about those things, they weigh probably about, just the coat weighs about 4.5 kilos, and it's 40 degrees outside. So I'm stopped at the lights. I'm the first one in the line, and I unwind my window, and he steps right close to the face of the car, so he can feel the breeze in his face from my aircon. And I looked at him and he looked at me, and I said to him, mate, there must be a better way to earn a living than this. And he said, if only there was. And to me, that was the magic words. Well, mate, if I can show you, I'll come back tomorrow, and if I can show you something, right, would you look at that? Would you be open to look at that? And so he was. I went back the next day with my iPad. I showed him the video of Make a Lifestyle, and he signed there and then on the dot. That's how you know how easy it can be. But we have to complicate things, you know, in ourselves and make it hard. And so in that first 40 days, we actually went to the second level, which was national director, and because it was spread over 2 business periods, we got one check one month, one check the next month. And I was surprised because I really didn't know if it would work, but we were prepared to give it the 90 days. And in that 90 days, that really made a difference, didn't it?
So you went all out and got started. So what was your journey to presidential like? You know, some people sit looking from the outside and think it was just a rocket ship rise to the top. But my experience of doing this for many years, I know that that's never the truth. So you must have hit roadblocks. You must have had huge successes. What's your perspective of that journey to presidential?
Wow.
We had a few roadblocks.
Oh, we had a few roadblocks. We certainly did. In 2015, Jan fell off the veranda here at home. And so imagine this, we started 2012. we had 2012 off, started really in 2013. In 2015, our national director, Jan, fell off the veranda and she crushed both her heel bones and was in hospital for about 3 weeks, surgery, a mess, in a wheelchair. The prognosis was this: you'll probably never walk properly again, or if you do, you'll need to be aided. So either a walking frame or a walking stick. You'll never be able to run again, and so we looked at each other and we decided that that we were going to just put everything on hold. I even let all my boys go from our construction business, and we just focused on Jan.
Otherwise, I would have had to go to rehab.
Yeah.
Because they weren't going to let me come home unless I had somebody to look after me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we took about I took about 8 months off life completely, and we just focused on getting Jan better. I would massage her feet, I would do everything at home, and I have an absolutely new appreciation for being a house husband, because I used to come home and I think, what do you do all day? When you realise, when you're actually in the trenches and you realise, different story. And all those little things that you don't sort of think about, like how can I not dust for 3 days and there'd be dust there already? you just little things like that. We spent the time and focused a lot of massage, a lot of rehab, a lot of walking backwards and forwards, a lot of exercise, and amazingly, a lot of ambrotos, a lot of bounce back, a lot of product. And you tell the story. They're your feet.
They are. Well, I was very depressed because after the injury, because I was a very active person prior to that. Well, if I can step back a little bit, just after we started with the Manatech business, I was quite a large girl, probably a size 16 in stretch pants. And I decided that I was going to use GlycoSlim at that point and Osaline. And I lost nearly 30 kilos.
Wow.
When I think about my injury, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm glad I lost those 30 kilos before the injury, because if I would have fallen carrying that weight, I probably would have done a lot more damage. But Hank used to bring my Manatech products to hospital because I was on True Plenish then?
No,
it was GlycoSlim still. Yeah. He brought that to hospital. And in hospital, I was taking all the Manatech products as much as I could get my hands on. And I was actually doing exercising and that in hospital as well, even though they told me I shouldn't, because I was determined that I was going to not accept their prognosis. Yeah. But it was very hard because with the injury, it's a very slow recovery. And so you don't always know. You don't always notice the improvements that you're making. So I'm glad that, Hank put up with me, because I wasn't a very nice person to be around sometimes. But now I walk unaided. I can walk 10 kilometres. I recently did the 1,000 steps, which is the Kokoda trail straight up Mount Dandenong. And I just think it's from all the products, it's back, and because I don't take any medication, even though they told me it would be a long time, thing, having medication. But I don't take any medication at all because of all the nerve damage and everything. So, So that 7 months we did nothing. We just focused on Jan getting better.
Then we decided that we would actually get focused and and try and rebuild, because when you stop, everything stops.
You lose your momentum.
All the momentum was gone, and so I called James a few times, and we had words. I said, mate, many a time I'm over it. I can't put up with this anymore, because at that point, we're still working 70, 80 hours a week in our traditional business. Doesn't leave a lot of time. And so he used to say things like this to me: Hank, if you don't change, nothing will change. And you'll look down the track in 5 years' time and you'll still be where you're at. You choose what you want to do. And so, and that, resonates with me. When people say, this is what you need to do, I'll say, no, I'm not going to do that. He used to use little phrases like, if things don't change, if you want things to change, you've got to change. You've got to change what you do to get a different outcome. And I'm so glad, that he sort of put up with our, for lack of a better word, crap. And so, after being focused, the last probably couple of years, we became more involved. We became accessible. And really in the last 6 months, we've made the effort to go to team where team is.
Yeah, it's about building relationships.
Yeah, because some of the people had been in our team for 4 or 5 years and we'd never met them. We didn't know who they were. And that was the catalyst that changed our business. We spent the time to go and travel. We spent the time to make sure we were at the functions. We spent the time to, be on the calls and to be involved. For me personally, the thing that changed my perspective was a little book, and a little book by Adler. I forget his first name, Adler, and it's called Beach Money.
Beach Money.
To me, the beach, it resonates peace, relaxation, joy, because as a young bloke, I was a surfer, and I would spend a lot of time down the coast, at Bells Beach and all those prominent places as a young bloke. And to me, that really resonated. I need this. I want this. This is going to be a part of, my life and Jan's life, and whoever else wants to come along.
That's amazing, isn't it? So it's like in a way you're saying that the right people come at the right time, and you have to just be able to see, because you made that decision, something called you at the beginning. And, I think if I'm scanning, I know most people on the list, and most everybody will have, myself included, had some major roadblocks. And Manatech is worth committing and recommitting and focusing on, isn't it?
Yeah, yes. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thinking about my traditional business or our traditional business, it's a hard slog every day. And for every morning that you go to work, you start from zero again, and then you work your way up to, whatever result you need for that day. I love the sort of the inclination that, the team's there. I love the thought of being able to say, before the start of the day, we've already made $100,000 this month, or whatever the case is. To be able to say that is really, really profound, because nobody really gets it. Very few people get it.
No, it is hard to grasp that thought of, residual income business as for people who've never really looked into it or studied.
Yeah, sure.
That's right. And it's great to see the changes in other people's lives too. Ours, that you see other people changing, and personal growth. I think that's amazing. To be the best person that you can be. That's pretty good too. Yeah. So, like you said, Manatech has it all.
It does. So, how some of the questions that frequently come in that want to be answered for calls like this, people who've just gone to the next level in their business success, is number one, how do you find new people to talk to, and what do you do when you're talking to them? What do you say? What do you recommend?
Wow. Okay. I have because I do most of the that sort of part of the business. I like to listen for little triggers. Now, step back a little bit for a minute. The most often question that's asked is, what do you do? Right? And it's very, very easy to fall into the trap to say, I'm a bricklayer, or I'm a housewife, or, I'm a cleaner. Think about it like this. I'm in business developing several streams of income, and their demeanour changes and their ears prick up straight away. Oh, what does that mean? Or I like little triggers like, if only, or that would be great. Well, hang on a minute. If I showed you a way that you could actually achieve that, would you be open to look? And it's surprising how quickly you can get a response from somebody. Mm-hmm. You have to be quick. And this is what the system teaches. You have to be in a hurry all the time. Look, I can't answer that question now. Write your details on here and I'll get in touch with you in the next, few days. When you think about like the approach that Bo Short has, very quick. I'm not from here, do you know what I mean? I'm not here, but I'm looking for somebody who's sharp because I want to develop this area. We're looking at growth in this area. And when you become comfortable with that, it just flows naturally. Yeah?
So in other words, you're recommending being ready and being willing to engage with people when you're out and about.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the biggest thing that I find that people sort of have is not a willingness not to open their mouth. It's easy to say, hi, how's your day? Or g'day. Simple Australian, everyday Australian thing. G'day, mate, how are you? Oh, yeah, I've had better days. And conversations like this happen. Remember, I'm on the building site. These conversations happen every day. G'day, or good morning. How was last night? No, it was pretty miserable. Oh, why? And the conversation flows from that. It doesn't mean that you have to prospect everyone straight away, but you need to build some sort of rapport to have a bit of relationship there. And then you can come in later on. But it's amazing how receptive and open people are. Everyone's looking for a better way to live life. That doesn't mean that they're going to get involved in Manatech. It doesn't mean that they're going to get involved in network marketing. But just the ability that somebody cares enough to open their mouth and talk to them makes a difference in someone's life. Yeah?
Yeah, you have to be thinking about them, don't you?
That's right, yeah.
Believe it or not, people are watching. Like I've had people that I've spoken to 3 years ago, and all of a sudden they pop up and all of a sudden they're interested.
Yeah.
So you don't know what's happening. Some people that you speak to, you think nothing's happening, but then they're watching and looking what you're doing, and then very often they'll come back. So, it's about, being consistent with what you're doing and keep at it.
Yeah. Make sure they know that you're there and that you're Mr. and Mrs. Manatech. And yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I suppose, Sharon, the biggest thing is, for me, I've said many a time to James, mate, this is just too hard, I'll quit. Really, I quit. Let me just give people a little bit of advice. Don't quit. Don't ever quit.
No.
Because you don't know what's happening in the background behind you in your business. Imagine if we'd quit. Imagine how life would have been if we quit. I remember Rod Gilchrist at the very first function we ever went to. He got on stage, and I think he was awarded for something about income. The best income or whatever. And I looked at that guy, and I thought, I could see myself in that spot. And what Rod said was this. He said, my biggest claim to fame is not that I'm a pastor, not that I'm a good speaker, not that, my biggest claim to fame is I never quit. Let me give you some advice. Don't quit. Even if nothing happens, just don't quit. Because you don't know, the next person that you talk to might be another Rod Gilchrist, might be another James or Naomi. And you don't know that thin thread I talked about before. You don't know how fine that's going to be, how long that's going to be, but how that can change your life.
That's amazing. And so, I think it's really good to talk about those times when we're not on our game, sort of knocked sideways or destabilized. What's your best way to get your mindset back on track? What do you do, and what do you recommend for your team?
I ring my upline. I always ring my upline. I always ring James. I must be the most annoying enroller that he ever had, or enrollee that he ever had. And some of the discussions that we've had, have been I've been in the absolute pits. And, mate, this is just too hard. And he would say things like this: you know what I'm doing right now? And this is probably 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the morning, when every good man should be at his job doing what he does. He would say things like, I'm sitting down in the cafe and I'm having whatever he was having. And I would think, mate, you really irritate me a lot. Because he knew how to speak my language. He had spent the time to find out what triggered me. And so, and that's why I love that guy so much. I'm really annoyed at him today because he's flying off to Fiji with, a whole bunch of other people. But our life has really changed because he took the time, to invest in us.
It's amazing, isn't it? You just never know when you're being really present with someone, with what's right for them, how what you have might change the track of their life in such a good way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I asked you to think of a few things that you'd recommend for like your personal top success tips. Did anything come to mind for you?
Yeah, be engaged. If you're going to be there, be present.
Yeah.
And this was a big one for me. We went, I think it was in in August, we went on a retreat to Coffs Harbour, a leadership retreat. And it was called Business Mastery. It's something that, James and Naomi put together. And the key that came out for me was, to always listen to your heart. Listen to your heart, because your heart knows. We emit this rhythm from our body that can connect with everybody else. And if you feel something on your heart, then, generally that's right. So, sorry, I forgot what your question was.
That's okay. You're talking about what you identify with as success tips or things that have helped you in your goals.
Yeah, that's right. So for my heart, the success thing was this. You don't know what somebody else is going through at the time when you engage with them, but your heart knows. And if you feel something on your heart, then you should speak it out. Yeah? Speak it out. Don't be timid. Don't be shy. Be bold. We've got something that, look at history, how many great people have come through Manatech business and really made a huge success of it and changed people's lives. That's what you've got in your hand, because we're all the same people. Yeah. And so my biggest success tip is, what I found at that retreat was be present. If you're going to be in a moment with somebody, be present. Yeah. Don't be thinking about, what you've got to do tomorrow. Be present at that time. And your heart will engage with your mind, and your mind will know what the right things to say are. Be present.
Really, I think, again, after interviewing so many people over the years, one of the things that gets in our way is when we're thinking about our performance or whether we're doing it right, if that's what's really going on in our head, as opposed to doing exactly what you've just said, be totally present because it's about them. And
That's right.
We don't have to do it perfect for them to say yes.
No, that's right.
That's right.
And you don't even have to have, I wouldn't go into a discussion like that with an agenda. Because your agenda gets in the way of what really needs to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just in the last 6 months, we've engaged just because of, or I've engaged just because of that little shift from mind to heart. We've got the best product.
Yeah.
We've got one of the best compensation plans on the planet. Where can you mix with people of this caliber and not be affected by that? Yeah. I don't know what else to say. We look forward to a future that is immeasurable.
So I know at presidential level, it doesn't replace, your business income yet or your full-time income, but what lifestyle changes have you started to enjoy? Obviously the personal development, because, it blesses us even if for our other parts of our life, doesn't it? What we learn in Manitech.
Yes. It does. Well, I've retired.
Oh, good.
Because I was working. So I was planning on retiring at the end of the year, but no.
Yeah, here we are.
So I've been retired for a few months now. So so it's been really, really good. Yeah, really, really good.
So Sharon, look, our life really hasn't changed a lot. Obviously, the additional income, has been profound. Remember though that because we had a pretty bad instance of when we started, we were hugely in debt, because the company ended up going bankrupt. And out of several $100,000, and we're talking a substantial amount, we got $22 back. And so we still have to repay, all that. We had to replace that cash flow. We had to continually negotiate with people for supplies. It wasn't pleasant. Sometimes it's still not pleasant. But that regular check coming in every single month, even though at the start we're only small, it made a difference. And sometimes it made a difference whether we ate or not. That's how profound it is. We sort of decided that that bronze is going to be the absolute cutoff. But if circumstances change, and we have a plan for that, and if circumstances change in the meantime, then we'll look at the options.
Fantastic. And that, from what you're saying, it's that fact of having that backup of the secondary income stream. If I think everyone in business today, even if a home business like ours isn't their main focus, it's one of their backup plans, their safety net, because it's a scary world in business and employment right now. Everyone needs to have a backup. Imagine if you guys face that hiccup, whatever happened in your business, where someone doesn't pay and it is like a domino effect. Imagine if you'd already had a significant backup income, it wouldn't have been quite so traumatic. And I believe everybody deserves to hear about this from that perspective.
Yeah, sure. Look, absolutely. Look, we did have some backup things in place. We had to sell a couple of rental properties that we had, to sort of recover from that.
Yeah.
That was, being in business, you don't put away every week for superannuation, things like that, because it doesn't always work like that.
Yeah.
And so, we had those things, which were proceeds of growth from years before. But to be in a position where you had to, because of no choice, make those decisions, you make them.
Yeah.
But imagine if, we probably wouldn't been in that position if we were old school presidential. I call it old school presidential because, you know, I don't know whether the income's different or what. But your choices change.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden, and I love promoting that we are business people with multiple streams of income. You know, because it's still new thinking.
Yeah, it is new thinking. And it's important new thinking with the, you know, the predictions, the economic predictions for employment and business going into the next 10 to 15 years. Everybody needs to hear about this as an option.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I always say to people, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Don't be scared to talk to people, but be prepared to talk to people. And what I mean by that is when somebody says to me, what do you do? I say, I have two businesses, one in construction and one in online marketing. Oh, what does that mean?
Yeah, they go, oh.
Right? What does that mean? Oh, what does that mean? Because it's a hot topic now.
Yeah.
Well, look, I don't have time to explain it right now, but if we've got a moment in the next few days, I'm happy to run an idea past you because we're always looking for key people. Always. Write your name down on this piece of paper and I will get in touch with you. Might not be tomorrow, might be, but in the next few days. Yep. We all do the same things, you know, with marketing like Facebook ads and, you know, and stuff like that. But for me personally, face-to-face always works better.
Fantastic. And so where do you see yourself and Manatech now and in the next 5 years?
5 years. 5 years is a long time, Sharon. You know, my thinking is, or do you can talk.
I don't know.
We have a yearly plan, so we go out a year. The next 90 days, our plan is to completely qualify for presidential. Because, you know, thinking today's what, the 12th or something? We've only been here for 12 days. And yet it feels like we've been here for a long time.
It does.
because it's been on our heart for a long time. I remember having, you know, written down our PD speech already 2.5 years ago. Prepared. I know that we're going to, you know, even though I was going to quit along the way, it's still written down. And so it's irrelevant now because things have changed. But so that's 90 days. And the year is to be able to go bronze.
Excellent. Excellent. That's amazing.
You know, I see Manatech shooting forward or being projected forward because when you really look, you know, behind you, the amount of momentum that's there, the amount of enjoyment and encouragement, and it is a fun business, even though it is hard. Yeah. You see a collective of associates come together, the whole atmosphere lifts.
Yeah.
And that's contagious. So where do I see Manatech going? I see them being number one in, you know, between 5 and 10 years. I really, really do. We've got a strong history, even though some of that history is checkered. We all make mistakes. Every company makes mistakes. But we've got it right now. We've got the best product on the planet that everybody needs. We've got the best compensation, or one of the best compensation plans, you know, available. And the momentum is building. Yeah. So a startup, 20-year startup company. Brilliant. Ground floor opportunity, even though we're 20 years old.
Mm.
Or 25 years old. And when you look at the statistics of growth in the industry that we're in, it actually growing, or one of the highest growth areas on the planet for income. I remember reading a statistic not long ago, and this is for America only, or the States only. 68% of women who earn over a six-figure income are in direct sales, which is network marketing. Doesn't that tell us something? Doesn't that tell us that we're on the right vehicle at the right time in history, and who knows where we're going to end up?
Absolutely. And what's in your heart to leave people with? There'll be people watching this live and down the track in all different places in their, how they feel and in their, what they perceive as their current success with Manatech. What's in your heart to share with them?
My heart is this. If you don't quit and you take the opportunity to speak out when you get the chance, you will change your life. Sharon, my view on this is this. Your business gets to a point where it becomes self-perpetuating, and you have no more control over what happens, because you don't know, downline somewhere, at number 568, that person there, you don't know who's they're talking to. You don't know what's happening behind the scenes. And that's why we feel so honoured to be here, because we're only here as a result of the work that our upline has put in and the work that our downline's put in. We've done a bit on our own, but it's that collective that makes the difference. So my advice to people is this, to give you some encouragement: just step out when you can. It might not be the best way. You might not be, you might be scared, but do what your heart feels. And if your heart feels that you need to talk to somebody, go and talk to them.
Yeah.
Don't be shy.
Thank you. Jan, did you want to add to that?
My biggest thing is books, reading books, and Audible. And you can multitask. Like I exercise and I do dishes and the normal things, and I have audio going. Because if you can grow as a person, then you have more to give as well.
That's right.
So that's probably and attend all events. Yeah. Events are very important, and to get your team to events. So be a good promoter. Yeah.
Well, Jan and Hank, that's been a lovely, almost an hour. I've loved getting to know you more, and I know that people would have benefited from your experience and your advice and your tips. I think, success does leave clues, and that people can leave from this time spent with you both blessed and with some ideas for themselves. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah, thanks, Sharon.
Well, we'll see you going bronze.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. I don't know who's going to be on next week yet. Any ideas, you can send them to me. That would be great. And God bless you both. Have a great weekend. Thanks, everyone. See ya.
Have a great day. Bye.